Hello, everyone. This is a video specifically for the instructors for the program. It is designed to explain the leadership scheme Medalize Network has come up with to accommodate the need for a formal leadership documentation of the process. So this lecture comes in that regard. So I will introduce you to our leadership scheme one step after the other. So the term mentorship knows for a lot of different purposes. By now, you guys should know that the term mentorship is avoided in Medalize because we're trying to encourage support of a network to a number of applicants to UK training. So this is not just a one-to-one thing. This is a group thing whereby each mentee or each applicant receives support from multiple doctors giving advice at multiple stages where relevant. And because the goal is focused, we tend to allow students to meet with instructors on one-to-one basis at critical intervals, such as before starting an application, before submitting an application, and probably once or twice before going into an interview. So these are some of the things that you will be expecting as part of the leadership scheme, but certainly this is not all what it is. Most of the lecturing and most of the information will be delivered in a group session so that we can maximize on the efforts that we make so that we don't repeat the efforts that we make twice. So in essence, we are here to support a bunch of applicants, Bahraini applicants, become the doctors that they want to be. We are supporting them in this very, I think, important cause, and it is an important cause personally to me. And I'm sure that cause weighs a lot of value on your side as well. So while there is a monetary process involved, the core of the system aims to deliver success to these emerging Bahraini doctors and allow them to be the doctors that they dream of becoming, especially in the UK. So we offer the following leadership opportunities: to lead in the foundation year program, to lead in the internal medicine training or core surgical training, pediatric specialty training, and general support. Dr. Ali Abdel Nabi has previously shown a lot of interest in leading in this area, so I have left this area for him, but we can have a co-led support scheme for general support in which leaders could help one another deliver a curriculum. And the curriculum is not something that's magnificent. It is something that is just a few focused presentations on the topics that you feel, based on your experience, that you need to deliver. And I've created curriculum samples so that you're not overwhelmed with the term curriculum. It is a simple set of presentations that you will be given on the things that you feel comfortable teaching. And in co-led specialties, you're going to be assisted by another leader, such as yourself, into developing the course content and delivering the course over multiple weeks. So essentially, we want to deliver lectures every week, but if there are two leaders involved in the process, then there's certainly capabilities to combine efforts such that someone delivers a lecture every other week, and so on and so forth. So in a way, it takes a lot of the pressure of having to know everything, and it allows you to deliver content according to the things that you're comfortable teaching. So let's get started. will you create pages, like web pages? Will you manage a course, like the management of course content, uploading files and things? Will you need to schedule meeting yourself, like send emails to students and get them on board? Will you need to find replacements for yourself when you're not able to give the meeting? Will you be able to, will you chase feedback from the students once you've delivered the lecture? Will you need to know everything about the interview process in order to deliver that curriculum? The answer to all of these questions is no. You do not need to do any of these things. These things are organized by ourselves. So in effect, if you are unable to attend on a certain day, that's fine. Just let us know and we will find a replacement, or we will find an alternate date. At the same time, you don't need to manage a web page or a course. That is something that we totally take over. We do not give like any responsibilities for you in terms of chasing your own feedback. We do that for you. And obviously you don't need to know everything about the interview process. This is like simply delivering what you know about the interview process in terms of the interview themes and in terms of what you think could be something that is of relevance in the interview, and deliver that to your students. And that essentially explains what I just said. So logistics, from your end, what are the expectations? Just as usual, you worked with me before. This is what it is again. For those of you who haven't worked with me before, it's a simple invitation via Zoom link, and then you attend, and then you are allowed to share your screen, whereby you are able to give a presentation, if a presentation is something you are doing. Sometimes it's not a presentation, it's just a talk about what experience you've gone through. Some people like to just write some bullet points and make those bullet points be the guide into the talk, not a PowerPoint presentation. So it depends on what you want to present at the time. But essentially, you will be invited through a Zoom link, and then on a certain date and time, and you will attend this to present your presentation. That presentation essentially needs to be presented first, and then you go to the Q&As, like questions and answers if there are any. Sometimes there are none, that's fine. But the split is very important because we need to anonymize these sessions when we upload them to the website. So the content is recorded, but the Q&A section is not recorded. And this is something that we're starting to do, but it is something that we can review in the future if needs be, and if there's a lot of ask about Q&As and people wanting access to Q&As and things like that. But essentially, from what it is, Zoom link, you get into the presentation on a certain date and time, you deliver your presentation, we stop recording, then you go to the Q&A, whereby you interact with your students, and then following the Q&A, you end the presentation. We upload the presentation on your behalf. You do not do that. So very simple process in terms of the expectations on what you need to do. Does not require any technological learning, if that makes sense. So we've kind of divided things into 3 ways of delivering these curricula. So first of all, we're talking about foundation year and specialty recruitment support pathway. And that support pathway deals with the majority of things, right? So it deals with foundation year pediatrics, internal medicine, core surgical training. And for that, we are basically, you're going to be delivering lectures over a 2 to 3 month period, and that in that period, it's going to be around like eight lectures almost. Obviously, if you have a co-led session, that that could be divided into two. So people could be dividing things. So if you're delivering a lecture every other week, then it's going to be 4 on you and 4 on the other person. Obviously, the number of students who will be attending is very small because we have a small number of people who register to the program, because this is obviously a paid program, and we only want highly motivated students who want to go to the UK. So like a number of motivated students will be available, but this varies according to their time schedules. That's why even if you attend a meeting, even if you attend a presentation, you will be able to deliver the presentation in front of an audience or without an audience. In case there was no audience, this will be a recorded lecture and will be uploaded to the website at a later date or later in the day. And we do aim for a lecture every Friday, but if Friday doesn't work for you for any rota issues or anything like that, feel free to propose a different date. I'm sure students can accommodate a different date other than Friday. So we've got November and December schedule, and we've got the January, February schedules. Without going into too much detail, we've already finished the one-to-one sessions where you've looked into the candidate's CV and discussed generally where they're headed, what should they apply to. Some people required redirectioning, and some people were doing the right thing and were just encouraged to do the right thing, to continue doing the right thing. Then obviously there's a optional part of the program whereby you actually sit with the students and deliver generalizable feedback. So from what you've seen, what are the things that you recommend to the entire group of people? So if you've sat with all of the pediatrics applicants, what do you recommend to them in terms of the pediatrics application? What have you consistently seen that seemed to you something that you want to tell them back? This is an optional thing, and this could be happening nowadays. There's another session coming up just before submitting the applications, and that is something we highly encourage you guys to obviously take care of, because you'd want to look at someone's application before they submit it. That's such a critical point in time for the candidate, and I'm sure you realize the importance of going for that kind of session. And there's no secret about it, these sessions are paid. So for the January, February schedule, I've created a sample curriculum. You don't have to go about it. It looks quite extensive, but it's not that bad. It's not that hard. You have the references, you know where you studied from. You can always go back to those references to kind of refresh yourself. Your job is not to deliver this curriculum in full. Your job as a leader of the curriculum is to deliver selected elements that you believe make a difference towards the applicant's interview experience. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just cut that part of the video and share it as a summary of your responsibilities, because that's basically what it comes to. These are the probably, let's say, 8 to 10 presentations that you might be like responsible for delivering as part of this program. They are not time sensitive, but they do fall within the January, February spectrum. So even a bit prior to January, like in 15th December onwards and on to early February, I think that's the area where we're aiming at for most specialties. But for simplicity, we've said January, February. Now let's get into the details of this. First session will be an introduction. It's going to be a talk about what you're going to talk about in the future. And honestly, there's a lot to talk about in terms of interviews. So don't be worried that you don't have a lot to say, or you think that you're just not ready for it or anything like that. You've been through the process. Just talk about your experience and what you've been through. So This year is going to be different. It's going to be online. So talk about your experience and talk about how you think it's going to be, because everyone nowadays is talking about how they think the interview process is going to be. Now, there are some announced structures for the interviews. So these are things we will have to look into before preparing for these lectures. But at the same time, we appreciate that the instructions or the revelations on how the interview will be structured is quite vague, and there's a lot of prediction on how it's going to be. But some stations have been reduced from 3 to 2. All interviews are set to be online nowadays, so that's a big change as well. But some things will remain the same, the language, the dress code, and things like that. So these are some of the things that will remain consistent, and a lot of things will remain consistent. So I've put examples out there, an example curriculum. You, by all means, can create your own. Some of the specialties required MSRA, so this is something that you can add. Now, I understand some of the specialties did not have MSRA and now have an MSRA. This is something that another person can contribute to as part of this program, not necessarily a leader in this program, but someone who can be a contributor to the program, who can contribute with an MSRA lecture. Or the MSRA lecture could be actually shared to all of the classes that we have, the online classes. So the MSRA lecture could be shared with the pediatrics and with the general practice, for example. Now, by all means, take a capture of this. It is not something that's like impossible to do. It's actually very possible, very easy to do. And if you're going to talk, for example, about let's say the live interactive workshop activity, approach to ethical principles. So you do not have to list every ethical principle, but if you go to your references and just give it a good skim and check and pull out the common bits that actually common interview themes, that would be something of value and of benefit to your students. Now, obviously, like with anything, there are common things and rare things, so focus on the common things, I would say. There's always the Ask Me Anything session, the Q&A session, just you appearing to your students, approaching the interview time, just to kind of get the general feel of how they feel. Obviously, there's a lot of anxiety before approaching the interviews, so it's important to tell them that there will be a mock exam and there will be feedback, and from that feedback, hopefully students will have the enough experience in order to go forward to their interviews. By all means, what you are delivering to your students is not a comprehensive A to Z thing. You are communicating your experience of how you will be teaching the interview process. So it's not like something like it's not like if you miss something, someone's going to come back and say, hey, you didn't tell us about that. No, this is where you teach in what you're comfortable in, and there are things that you're not comfortable teaching, and you're going to be like, hey, this is where you can read about that, and so on and so forth. We do not, obviously, there's one more important thing. When you're creating the content, it is important not to copy paste from anywhere. References are something that is known to you, but it's certainly something that becomes a part of your learning experience. And since you are communicating your learning experience of how the interview process runs by means of how you see it, then these should be in your own words. And this is something that we take on board quite importantly, because it has its implications, and essentially the portal is about delivering original content. So please make content original. If you need images, we have access to resources for images. So it's not just Googling anything and sticking it out there. There are some things that we need as instructors to know in terms of where to find the right place to find images, for example. So if you want to use images, we have the resources, we have the links, we have the examples for you. So you don't need to like copy from general websites that are copyrighted. The mock exam day is something that we are currently anticipating, approaching February, before all of the interviews take place. So the full schedule will be announced approaching the interviews. Right now, we're just focused on delivering the content for the interviews, for people who are going into interviews. Now, even those who aren't accepted in round one will still need to attend, because round two will be shortly after round one. And so I think if you haven't been accepted in round one for GMC reasons, like in terms of your GMC is not complete, so in round one, they usually favor people with complete GMC registrations or favor people with complete visa requirements, then this is something that can be taken on in round two. So by all means, candidates should not feel discouraged by yourselves, obviously, when they do not get into their round one applications. The general support pathway is a bit different. The general support deals with what it's like to work in the NHS, and a lot of guidance into the different ways the NHS could present to you in terms of challenges, in terms of issues and things to consider. So these are some of the topics that I've listed. They are by no means exhaustive of the many things we can encounter in the NHS, but there are certainly things that actually are important to talk about in terms of the many things we as a people run through, as trainees run through in this system. So the general support pathway is all about general guidance for people of all specialties. And this is where we will be discussing the MSRA, because it is a topic that is shared by a lot of specialties. We will be encouraging external visitor talks in this scheme. So leadership in this scheme is quite light and nice, and it's an experience for you to be delivering something different than the usual science-based content and the interview-based content. So this is where the general support pathway could be really something you would be interested in. Lab support pathway is something that I am working with Dr. Shubbar, and we are doing nicely. We've recorded a couple of sessions together, and we're seeing that we could repeat this experience again. By all means, those who wish to contribute, to wish to be listed as a contributor to the PLAB support pathway, by all means, feel free to apply to this scheme. But in the current way that we're doing it, it's at a very pilot stage, and Dr. Shubbar and I are kind of leading on this part of the leadership scheme. But what it essentially comes down to is that we provide an introduction to the PLAB 2 exam. And in that introduction, we are not replacing the existing courses for PLAB 2. We are supplementing them with what we think, based on our experience, is something candidates should know about and should be aware of well ahead before the PLAB 2 exam. And then we go into the supervision scheme, which is something you can certainly contribute to. This is just a direct supervision of one of the applicants practicing with another person. And we offer 3 of these supervised sessions, 4 weeks before taking the PLAB 2 exam, and then 2 weeks before taking the PLAB 2 exam. And the reason behind that timing is because we want to see their level and give them feedback very early on. And we also want to see their level just before they do the exam, just for any last minute changes that you could do that could make a difference. Not literally last minute changes, but 2 weeks before the exam is sufficient notice for someone to implement some of the changes in the way they interact and the way they talk with patients and things. So applying to the correct plan, if you're wondering, like, what is this? Why should I apply? Just ask me, okay? And I'll tell you exactly where I think you should lead. But by all means, this is your choice. So I'm gonna lay it out for you first. We are definitely encouraging task sharing because leadership is something that's in demand, and we want to offer this opportunity to the largest number of people as possible. And at the same time, we want to dilute the tasks in terms of because not everyone could do weekly sessions. So some people would certainly prefer to split the task and deliver sessions every other week. And so that's the way we could do things in a more convenient way for everyone, where everyone could hold a leadership position within the program. So let's go for it. Once you're ready to choose what plan you want to support, whether it's general support, pediatrics, surgical, internal medicine, then just email us or talk to me, and we're gonna start with this. You get a certificate for leadership. Obviously, you get a giant letter saying how much of a hero you were in obviously leading the plan that you have set out to lead, and it is going to be something that is certainly going to reflect a leadership period of so far over a 6-month period since beginning. For some of you specifically, beginning the earlier webinar series that we've done. So this only contributes to complete that loop in terms of the leadership duration that you require for a lot of your applications, a lot of your future career plans. So this is something that I really am proud to share with you as a colleague and as a person who wants to benefit not only the students but also the lecturers who deliver, who contribute to this program, and get the maximum benefit for everyone in every possible way. This is me doing it for everyone. So have a look, see what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. Obviously, you're gonna have questions because this is something that I've done for the first time. I probably haven't done 100% job explaining. So just let me know what you think, what questions you have, and we can go at it. Thanks a lot for listening. I won't take any more minutes from you, and you have a good one.